So let's move to the environment, and you already brought up the petroleum. I want to share some statistics I compiled. I'm really wary of statistics, but I use them anyway. But I do like to say, when I do school programs, I often tell the students that I don't want them to believe a word I say. And the reason is not because I think I'm going to lie to them, because I don't ever consciously lie to a student, but because I've gathered the information that I've gathered from sources that I believe to be accurate, but I haven't done the research myself, and I think it's really important for everybody to be able to ascertain for themselves whether what they're being told is true or false. And so I would much rather have people not believe me, but go off and find out information for themselves. So the same is true for you. All of the statistics I'm going to tell you are sourced. You can go and research, but I will just share with you what I found. So, some of the consequences of the 28 billion bottles of water that are purchased in the United States, just the United States, 28 billion bottles, are these, and that's an annual purchase. 80% of those bottles wind up in landfills, and only 20% are recycled. Obviously, these are averages, they're not going to be perfect stats. Making the plastic bottles requires 17 million barrels of oil per year. So this is what you were alluding to. The production of bottled water in 2006 resulted in 2.5 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions. For Fiji water, I loved that I could get information just on Fiji water. 250 grams of carbon dioxide are released for every bottle produced. And the way they break it down is this: 93 grams to produce the bottle in China, 4 grams to transport the empty bottle from China to Fiji, and then 153 grams to transport the full bottle to the US. Now obviously that's going to be an average, because it would be different whether it was transported to San Diego or Maine. The average energy costs for a bottle of water, including the production of the bottle, the transportation, and its eventual disposal, is equivalent to, quote, filling up a quarter of each bottle with oil. Now, those are sobering enough, but the next statistic I'm going to read to you just knocked my socks off, not in a good way. It takes 3 to 5 liters of water to produce a single liter of bottled water. So just think about all that wasted water. And then they even had a special statistic for Fiji, which was that for Fiji, for imported water like Fiji, it takes 6.74 liters. So some people say, well, but you know, it's really much better to get bottled water than drink tap water. But Dasani from Coca-Cola and Aquafina from Pepsi are just purified tap water. That's what they are. So it will be far cheaper for you to just get some sort of purification system and purify your own tap water, and then just use a bottle and fill it up. Last one. No, sorry, 2 more. 25% of bottled waters are simply reprocessed municipal waters. 25%. And lastly, and Poland Springs, that's not spring water, okay? It originated in Poland Springs, Maine. That's just the name of that town, okay? But they were using well water. And in fact, I used to know somebody who worked with them because there was so much arsenic in it, and so they had to do arsenic mitigation. So, you know, for those of you who say, well, we might have arsenic in our water, well, you can test it, and you can do that mitigation, and I would guess it will be cheaper over time than buying this. So last one, 22% of brands that were tested, so different water bottles that were tested, or the water from water bottles, contain in at least one sample chemical contaminants at levels above strict state health limits. So while our municipal water is actually tested, bottled water is not, for the most part, and so you see these contaminants in bottled water. So that gives you some idea of some of the impacts on the environment from this. Can anybody think of any positive impacts on the environment from this? I can't either. And let's move on to animals. What are the positive and negative impacts on animals from this? Yes?
Yep.
They
get caught around the
Right, like sometimes there are those six-pack things. I mean, I don't know if Fiji uses them because they're so uniquely configured. But yes, so ducks and other animals can get those around their neck and die. Anything else? Any other impacts on animals you can think of? Yes?
Well, as you deplete the water, the animals used to drink it, so they go down.
Okay, so we can be depleting water that other animals depend upon. What else? Yes?
They have to breathe the same air that all the carbon dioxide is being released.
Right. And if you think about all of the pollutants involved in obtaining all this oil and all the carbon dioxide, all these things, they're going to have an effect on other species. There's another one that we often don't think about, and that is that now, because of the concerns about the plastic and the water and the phthalates, is that how you pronounce it? And all of the other, the biphenyl, I'm not very good with all of those chemical names. But they're usually tested on animals in laboratories, so they may be force-fed to them in quantities that kill in order to test the toxicity and danger of these and apply it then to humans. So animals are going to be tested as soon as we have any concerns that the plastic might be harmful to us. So we've just made a lot of connections in a very short period of time. So imagine what would happen if you went home and you opened your refrigerator and your pantry and you looked around and you started to ask questions. You asked the same questions we just asked. What are the effects on me, on other species, on the environment, and on other people of these different choices? And then what if you did the same thing in your closet? And what if you did the same thing in your bathroom? And then you did the same thing with just looking around everywhere in your house and your transportation and all of it. And you would probably find it rather sobering if you really did this, and it would be very time-consuming to find the information. But as soon as you begin to find the information out, you free yourself up to make different choices. So what would be a MOGO alternative to this? This would be a MOGO alternative. If you want to have water that you carry with you, then you can get a stainless steel bottle and you can just reuse it and refill it. So a pretty simple alternative that all of us can do. Any other alternatives you can think of? Yeah.
We have a purifier in our water.
Yeah. So getting a purifier at home and just making sure your own water is clean. Great. So we're going to move on to key 4. And key 4 is to model your message and work for change. So those sound like they're 2 keys again, but I see them as 2 sides of the same coin. Model your message and work for change. Where did this concept of modeling your message come from? Well, Mahatma Gandhi was once asked by a reporter, what is your message? Now, Gandhi had a big message, right? He was trying to free his huge country from British rule using only nonviolent methods. That's a pretty big message. He used to give speeches all over and talk about his message. But when this particular reporter asked him, what is your message? All he did was jot down on a piece of paper, my life is my message. Now, when I read that, it really brought me up short, because I realized that if Gandhi's life was Gandhi's message, that meant that my life was my message. That means that each one of our lives is our message. Whether we like it or not, our lives are our message. So the real question to ask ourselves is my life the message I want it to be? Is my life the message I want it to be? So that, to me, is the walk your talk side of this coin. That's the integrity side of this coin.